Hey Richard, I'm back with week 2 of our project management class, and I'm looking at our assignments. So week 2 is Thursday the 15th, so these assignments are due the following week, which is March 22nd. And the reading is chapters 7 and 8 of our little blue book. Research the topic, project scheduling network diagramming, and then you can also review page 84 of the text on that topic. And then review and bring a copy of the early start, late start form that's on Blackboard. And it looks like, I don't know if I have a copy in here because I have everything in Blackboard. You'll find it in Blackboard. Anyway, in our learning plan too. And we'll have access to it in class anyway. But assignment number 10 is just a short answer. Describe what activity duration is. This is right out of the reading. Can activity duration be 0? What is the critical path? Why is it important? How is it used? And what is float, free float and or total float? And then note, I put a note on here, the terms are used interchangeably. Include an example of each, or an example of that. Number 7, what is float's relationship to the critical path? And then number 8, from your research, discuss at least 5 tools or techniques we can use to estimate activity duration time. And again, this is right out of the reading, and you'll learn more about this if you do a little research as well. And the scoring, you can read that on how it's scored. And then assignment number 11 is basically just a progress report. It's a journal entry. So I want you to go to your journal or go to assignment number 11, and then when it gets you open your journal, you can rate on the following scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Include why you gave each element that particular score. So number 1, how do you feel the project is progressing, including both positive and negative conditions? And then score that on 1 to 10. How would you like to see, or excuse me, what would you like to see happen over the next few weeks to either fix any problems you think are occurring or continue with the current rate of progress? And then number 3, how would you rate your own contributions to the project to this date? And then number 4, what is your estimate of where you're at with the project? On schedule or behind schedule? What's also nice too is if you can add a percentage to that and say, I think we're on schedule. We're about, 35% done, or whatever you think it is. The reason we're doing these progress reports is because it's important that I stay in the loop, because ultimately I'm the project manager for both projects, right? And project managing the class, right? So when I read these progress reports, it gives me a clue if I think the team is struggling, or if somebody else on the team thinks they're struggling, but maybe I haven't heard about that yet, so I can jump in and help. Or if you're all is well, it's like, great, all is well. And that's one thing that in projects that the project managers or even people that they are assigning or are delegating duties to forget to do, is have these little just check-in points. Nothing fancy, right? Like you don't have to fill out some long report about it. It's like, well, how are we doing? And these 4 questions can help gauge if we need to step in or move something up or whatever's going on. So that's all there is for this week. The reading, look at what's in the learning plan, or excuse me, our learning plan in Blackboard. The short answer assignment is just a well-written paper, short answer paper. I guess I should have put that in there, but you always know that it's a, well written, right? Cover page and all of that. I didn't include it here, but that's a given. And assignment 11 is a progress report, which is just a journal entry. So that takes care of week 2. And let's do week 3. Let's do this together. So week 3, let's see, we'll do all of this first page in class together. So the assignments due by the 29th. Now you'll read chapters, I think it's a review for chapter 5. I think we've read that before, but I want some review to pop in here. Chapters 5, 9, and 10 of the fundamentals book, the blue one. And then assignment 12 has to do with a risk assessment. So chapter 5 talks about planning or risk assessment. Follow the directions on page 67 of the text using your project, the one you guys are working on as a team, as to answer these questions. So in a well-written paper, outline the following. The 6-step process is thoroughly explained. So you should be able to look at the 6-step process and explain it through the eyes of the project, right? Number 2, make a list of potential risks to the project. So the project that your team's working on, a minimum of 3. Boy, if you were lucky to only have 3, risk elements in a project, that would be great. But a minimum of 3 that you think are maybe still a potential risk for you guys to successfully complete the project. And then number 3, prioritize the risks based on the HML metric outlined in the text, which is high, medium, or low, explaining why you assigned each risk that particular risk level. And then number 4, for at least 3 of the risks that you listed above, right? Think about what are the preventive measures, contingencies, and trigger points. And again, right from the reading, and it'll make more sense once you do the reading. And of course, the paper follows the rules for good writing, all that good stuff. Assignment 13, monitoring, this concept of monitoring versus control. Sometimes people use it interchangeably. They're not interchangeable. In your own words and through examples, explain this statement. If you take no action in response to a deviation, you have a monitoring system, not a control system. So in your own words, try to use some examples to help explain that statement. What does it mean to you? Okay. And you can just submit your answers in the comments box. It's got it written on here for you. Assignment 14 has to do with budgets. Start thinking about your project's budget. So for this activity, you should create a tentative budget list for the project. Include, but not exclusive of, the following considerations. And you can look at my list here: man hours, materials, activity costs, raw materials, supplies, etc. Anything you think that will have a cost for completing this project. Actual cost values will come later. But at minimum, you have to start thinking, brainstorming those lists of costs. And then what comes later is the research to actually find out the exact amount of those costs, right? So submit on Blackboard a tentative budget list to me, a simple list of all the items that you have a cost for the project. And this is not a formal paper this time. It's just an outline of all your costs. And I give you a little bit of an example. Let's say you were doing a charity 5K race project or something. You can look at categories like, what are our supply costs? Blah, 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 blah. What are our participant costs? Blah, 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 blah. And these will vary, of course, depending on what project you guys do. So this list will be, if you put number 3 on here on assignment 14, the list will be used as a starting point for your team to build a more accurate list. Then adding values to each of the costs as a team. So I'd suggest you add this to your file exchange or discussion board area, however your team has decided that you're going to exchange your documents, so that the other team members have access to it. File exchange is a beautiful thing because it's universal. Now, if you guys are using Google Docs, put it there. Whatever you decide to use. Blackboard's beautiful because it's universal and all of you have access to Blackboard, and file exchange is just like Google Docs. It runs through Blackboard. So you're going to shoot a copy to me, right? And then you're going to make sure you have a copy exchange with your team. So you guys, when we come to class, you can use this to actually build your real budget for the project. So again, these assignments, some of these you're doing on your own, so you can come back to your team and have a lot of data to work from, and then create one for the project, okay? Assignment 15 is a group discussion board, and you'll find it already out there in Blackboard. All projects experience the need for change or adjustments. There's no such thing as a perfect project. So this discussion board will be tied to what kind of project, variances or changes or constraints or whatever it is you guys have experienced to date in the planning process for your project. You'll find the guidelines included in the discussion board form. I've got that out there for you. Chapters 9 and 10 will help with this. And then I put a note in here as well. This conversation should give you sound information to reflect on during your guys' oral presentation, because one of the things I'm going to be having your team report on is, what kind of bumps in the road did you hit along the way, and then how did you fix it? And in project management language, those are called things like variances, changes, constraints, things like that. So group discussion board. So this week, the assignments are assignment 12, the risk assessment. Assignment 13, the monitoring versus control conversation. Assignment 14, budget, starting to plan a budget. You're going to submit one to me and your team. And then 15 is the discussion board. So that's weeks 2 and 3. And looking at the clock, I try to keep these videos 10 minutes or less because then it doesn't take so much time to upload them to YouTube. All right, I'll be back for weeks 4 and 5. Bye.